Hello Year 12. This video is going to explain the Module C assessment task for this term. So you'll notice that there's quite a bit involved with this task. So on your gold sheet you'll see that the task has been broken into two parts, Part A and Part B. The first part, Part A, will ask you to write an imaginative, discursive or persuasive piece. And the second part, Part B, is a reflection. Can you please pay particular attention to the fact that we have divided this 10 marks and 10 marks? So we've strategically done that because we want you to give due attention to the reflection. That should not be an afterthought, but something that you're considering right from the very start of your assessment. You'll see also that we're breaking it down. The two parts will be submitted differently. So Part A will be done at home, typed up beautifully and handed in. We'll go into more detail about this by Turnitin by 4 p.m. on the 4th of March. You'll go home, have a sleep. The next day, Friday the 8th, you'll come back to school, and during period 4, when there's no scheduled classes, we're going to run an incursion. You'll be in the gym or on level 4, and you will write your reflection under test conditions. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. You'll see there that the two main skills that we're assessing at the bottom of that slide there is your ability to think and write creatively and your ability to reflect on your own learning. All right, so let's have a look at Part A in a bit more detail. So you were given a stimulus statement. The stimulus statement, books are weapons in humankind's battle against ignorance, should be used as a prompt to initiate some creative, imaginative or discursive writing. We want to see you actually being inspired by this stimulus statement. It should stimulate your writing and ideas. But you've got plenty of time to research and take it in many different directions as you like. Find something that you care about. Research a topic. Find your passion and your voice. You're giving a lot of choice in this assessment task. You can write imaginative, like a narrative. You could write discursive or persuasive. You might write in the epistolary form or a speech. We're being very open-ended, but what we want to see you do is craft that piece to communicate your meaning and your message to an audience. Now you'll notice that the word limit is only 650. A lot of you will find that quite challenging. We of course allow the 10% rule either way, so a little bit of variation to it, but 650 is because we need you to be concise. We need you to think carefully about your language choices. We don't want to see waffling. We want it to be a nice, rounded, cohesive, succinct piece of work. We're also trying to train you to be aware of brevity, to have a high impact within those word limits. Now you'll see under the instructions that I make reference to using the scaffold. I'm going to show you that in the next slide. Same rules apply as always. You're going to use your Nessa number. You'll need 12-point font, Word document or Google Doc. You're going to be submitting it through Turnitin so that we can check plagiarism. Like always, you can also check your plagiarism scores. Technical issues are not an illness misadventure cause. So you need to be responsible for your own learning, saving your work, updating it regularly, and having plenty of time to submit before that 4 o'clock deadline. Okay, so this is the scaffold that I'm referring to. We've basically initiated this to avoid having kids submit without a student number and also helping you be really deliberate in the choices that you're making. So you can download this, make it into your own Word document, draw it up like this if it comes to that. But essentially we want you to fill this in. So you'll type your student number in, your form, your described form. So are you doing imaginative, discursive or persuasive? If you are doing persuasive, is it a persuasive speech? Is it a piece of satire? Tell me what the form is. Tell me the word count and the title. We want your piece to have a title. It should have its own name. And then you will actually just copy and paste Part A into that bottom box. It will drop over into another page and that's fine, but it should fit in this format. Okay, so still thinking about Part A, what is it that we're looking for? We've designed this to help prepare you for those bigger skills that we'll get to in the trials and the HSC. So you'll see that there's 3 dot points in each of the bands. Let's have a look at the first one. So we're asking you to compose a sustained and highly engaging piece of writing that draws on the stimulus quote. So the first thing we're looking for is how engaging is this? You're writing for an audience. How do you hook us? Do you get us interested? Are you a good writer? That's essentially what we're asking. What we mean by sustained is it's only 650 words, but is it a cohesive, the idea, the themes, the style, the form, does it run throughout those 650 words? And the stimulus, you must use it. That's a big discriminating factor in the HSC. When the examiners are looking at these scripts, they want to see that the stimulus has been used, that it has actually stimulated your idea, not just writing about something else, but something that's been born from the stimulus. The second outcome is how well you can craft your writing. Now, we've phrased that very deliberately. We want to see that you are not just writing stuff down on a page, but it's been thoughtfully crafted. And that you're aware of that form. You've been learning these different forms for a long time now, that you're able to pick the choices to suit the form and your purpose. And as always in English, the last outcome is assessing your control of language, how well you can communicate and express yourself appropriate to your form and your audience. And then the band descriptions, the skills stay the same, but how we describe them shift as we move down those bands. Okay, so part B is the one that's maybe might have a little more questions attached to it. So on the Friday, you don't have scheduled classes. So at 2 o'clock, you will be given a room, whether it's in the gym or up on level 4, where you'll be given an unseen reflection task. Now, you know that we're asking you to write a reflection. When we say unseen, it means you don't know the exact wording of it or how we'll phrase the question. You will basically need to justify why you've made those language choices in part A. So the skill is knowing part A well, being able to explain and justify why you've chosen that motif or those temporal shifts, or why you've chosen to write a piece of satirical writing, and how that has been used to shape your meaning. You'll need to make reference to your part A, so we are allowing you to bring in a copy of it. It is your responsibility to print out your copy of part A and bring it into the exam room or the classroom with you. All of those pieces of paper that you bring in, though, are going to be scanned by teachers as they come in. So you can only bring in part A. You can't bring in anything to help you with part B, and it will be collected at the end of the time frame. You will have 5 minutes planning time and then 20 minutes to write your response. Now, 5 minutes planning time is for you to unpack the question, for you to start thinking, what should I include? What elements are really important from part A that will work to answer this question? You can look back over part A if you need, and then you'll have 20 minutes to write your reflection. 20 minutes is not a long time, so I urge you to actually practice doing this at home first. Your individual classroom teachers will talk to you about draft submissions. We will happily accept them, but we do have a deadline for that to allow us time to obviously read them and make comments and for you to action that change. Okay, so marking criteria for part B, it is weighted the same as part A, so it's still 10 marks. So we want you to give this due attention. What we're looking for is how well you can justify comprehensively, like you've really thought about it, why you've made those language choices. I urge you to think more macro, not just here's a simile. Think why you've composed a piece in the manner that you have. We want you to reflect on the conventions of that form. So if you are writing in the imaginative versus the discursive or the persuasive, what conventions of that form have you employed and how has that helped you? And as always, your control of language comes into play. We want to see skillful control of language. Okay. If you have any questions, please talk to your classroom teacher. The same with all other assignments. Process about illness, misadventure and things like that can come straight to me and the deputies. Otherwise, I'll leave you with please work hard, good luck, and have fun with this. We want to hear your voice. We want to read your ideas. And we want you to have ownership and choice over this assessment task. All right, thanks, Year 12.